Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from True Off My Chest. Our first post is by Throwaway. Fiancee F23 wants to call off wedding because I-26M would save my 3-year-old niece before her dogs in a hypothetical fire. How can I explain to her my reasoning? I recently got engaged to my fiancée about 2 months ago. Everything was fine until 2 days ago. She has 2 dogs and a cat. She loves them and essentially see them as her fur babies. I like them too. I like pets in general, but not to the extent of calling them my kids or anything like that. I personally find it ridiculous, but it's harmless, so whatever. My sister has a 3-year-old daughter who literally adores me. She always so excited to see me, and I get her gifts from time to time. My sister and her husband were going to an event and they left her with me and my fiancé for the few hours. I and my fiancé were watching a L movie, and the subject of fire rescue came up. For some awkward reason, she asked me if there was a fire who I would save first, her, my niece, or her dogs. I told her I'd do my best to save the 2 of them, her and my niece. I would put my own life at risk to save them. She said, "What about the dogs?" I told her I would try to save them, but her and my niece come first and it's not even close. She got mad and started saying I am putting my niece above my own family. I told her I don't know what her logic is, but there is no way I would put the dogs, as much as I like them, above my niece, a little human being with whom I share 25% of my DNA. She then started saying that I know how much her dogs mean to her, and if I loved her, I would value them as much as I value her. I told her I value her a lot more than she can imagine. But when it comes to saving my niece or the dogs, there is no ambiguity. It's always going to be my niece. She even mentioned how I should even save the dogs before her. I told her the only other being I would put before her is our child when we have one. Otherwise, I would always save her before her pets. Since then, she has been giving me a hard time. She has also been acting different with the dogs. I used to feed the dogs every morning. Now she rushes to do it, so I don't do it. She takes them on walks by herself without telling me, and is essentially trying to take me out of the equation when it comes with the dogs. I talked to her about it yesterday, and she said she is not sure she wants to marry me anymore because I don't value her fur babies. Our next post is by Throwaway. I-34F asked my husband 39M for a divorce, and now he's been the perfect husband in an attempt to get me to change my mind. How can I explain to him that I have completely made up my mind and he can't change it? My husband 39M and I, 34F, have been together for over 13 years, married for almost 9. We have 2 children together, but under the age of 4. We have had many significant issues through the entirety of our relationship, which we have discussed at length in the past, and my concerns were always pacified with minimal effort for a brief time. Most of the current main issues began about 4 years ago when I was pregnant with our son. Despite going through fertility treatments to conceive, he was fairly absent during the pregnancy, and even worse once our son was born. I was essentially a single parent, and this created a lot of resentment. This also coincided with COVID, and my previously introverted husband became a hermit even after COVID restrictions lifted, and we both felt safe going out again. Cut to the end of 2022. Despite our continued struggles, we conceived our daughter through fertility treatments. I was hospitalized at 18 weeks and ended up on bed rest and pelvic rest for the duration of my pregnancy. Even while under these restrictions, I was still the main caregiver for our son, and he would constantly complain when he had to do any of the tasks I would typically do for our son: bath, prepare meals, etc. When I was about 7 months pregnant, my car ended up dying and I needed a new battery since I was stranded at the house without a safe car while he was at work. I continually asked him to go get one, that I would pay for. I just couldn't lift it into and out of a shopping cart, but he never did it. Our friend found out I needed this, and he actually went out, bought the battery, and installed it for me the next day. When I gave birth, my husband was completely uninterested and even complained about how hard I squeezed his hand, even though I had to give birth unmedicated. Hours after our daughter was born, instead of spending time with our new daughter, he was returning a call to the group sales associate for the local Major League Baseball team to coordinate buying tickets for the next month. In December 2023, we had a very significant fight, and I finally suggested couples counseling. He refused. When I asked why, he said that he wouldn't do it because they, therapists, tend to favor the female. When I suggested we find a male therapist or one he chooses, he still refused and did not provide any other alternative to counseling or therapy. He said he wanted to fix our relationship for the kids, but I told him I would never stay together for the kids, just my belief that it makes everyone miserable. We had this same conversation every month through February 2024, with him continually refusing counseling and actually distancing himself more from not only me, but the kids. It finally came to a head last week when I told him I have decided on a divorce. I didn't ask for one because I knew what I wanted and that I wouldn't change my mind. The conversation went from him gaslighting me, to blaming me, to bargaining for more time, until he finally seemed to accept the fact it was over between us. I was very clear and told him I would have love for him as the father of my children, but I was no longer in love with him. We even had discussed how to amicably co-parent moving forward. The next day, he came to me with these commitments he was going to make to me to be a better husband and father. He even called my mom and told her all about how he was going to change and be better. It all felt extremely manipulative and disingenuous. Since then, he has been going above and beyond to be more engaged with the kids, be more supportive of me, and how he can help, etc. The only problem is, his campaign to win me back is having the opposite effect. Because now I can see that he has been capable of this all along but was choosing not to do it. He also told his parents I asked for a divorce, and they ambushed me in our home 5 minutes after I woke up the other day, drilling me on if I loved their son and was willing to do therapy. So, how can I tell my husband that this is too little, too late, while still maintaining some semblance of peace for our kids? Our next post is by Call 911. I, 29M, woke up to my partner, 28F, of 7 months, social media update, and thought I was dumped. How would you handle this? My partner and I have a rule about sleeping while upset at each other. We have to resolve a situation before going to sleep and not let it fester and grow. So last night we had an argument. We tried to patch it up as best we can so we can sleep peacefully. We even started making jokes and planning gifts. Which takes us to this morning when she retweets a picture from the TV show Sex and the City, where the protagonist is on a magazine cover with a blown-up quote stating, "Single and fabulous," which gives me a pause. But then I see that I have been removed from her bio after it used to be, "I only talk about him," which sends me straight to texting her, "What's going on?" And she is seemingly unaware of what I'm talking about. And after explaining that I read as that I'm being dumped through a Twitter post, we then had a slight argument in which she explains that it's an innocent retweet and that the quote is ironic. I haven't watched the show, so I'm unaware. As for removing me from her bio, she felt like everyone who follows her knows about it and that she always thought it would be temporary. And then she got mad at me for jumping to conclusions and that I'm paranoid and have trust issues if small things like that make me jump to conclusions, and that it is the bigger problem right here. So I said I would like a third party's input, preferably someone who knows neither of us, Reddit, and if it's true that I am paranoid and have trust issues, I will commit to therapy to address the situation. We love each other very much, but we felt that this is the way to go to address this situation. Reddit, please advise. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.